All right, we are back and live, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hey, if you don't know me, I'm Mike Asherbranner, professionally known as the Redneck Connector. Yeah, you heard that right. And the proud and humble leader of the Hounds of Business community. Hey, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Man, we got a special guest. This is going to be so much fun. Today's theme, today's show, Chaos to Calm, right? The four letters to help you deal with life challenges with the one and only Troy Karnes. Man, this guy, I like people who lived it, right? I like people who didn't just write a book. They lived it, they lived through it, they found a formula and they share that with other people. That's what we got today. So buckle up, get ready. And hey, I'm gonna play the intro and we're gonna get this guy right up here, y'all.
Looks like your business might be in a bit of a pickle. Don't you worry about a thing. You ain't alone in this. You're just a success story waiting to happen. Trust me on that. Every bump in the road is just an opportunity wearing a clever disguise. Welcome to the Hounds of Business community, where we don't just sit around twiddling our thumbs. Nope. We turn those obstacles into mighty fine stepping stones. This here's a place where high-level entrepreneurs and sharp professionals gather to grow their businesses and mindsets, kind of like how a good old gumbo needs the right ingredients to be something special. Ideas thrive here, and collaborations, well, they're as natural as sweet tea on a hot day. Success, it's a journey, and we're fixing to walk that road right beside you. Now, don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn for all the latest tips and insights. We're talking about the kind of wisdom that'll keep you ahead of the game. And while you're at it, head on over to our YouTube channel. We've got ourselves a treasure trove of videos, from expert interviews to webinars, everything you need to stay sharp in this fast-moving world of business. The Hounds of Business community? Well, we ain't just a network, we're a movement. So why not come on and be part of something bigger? Join us today and let's turn your business journey into a real Southern success story. Together, we'll achieve greatness, just like crawfish and singing on a Friday night.
Hey, let's bring up Troy Karnes, everybody, and then ask him, do you know anything about crawfish and singing on a Friday night? Where are you from, Troy?
Man, I'm from Denver, and crawfish. So I grew up in a house at the end of a cul-de-sac, and we were right next to the greenbelt. We had a little stream that went through there, and yeah, we used to go crawdad fishing. You know, we tie a little piece of cheese or like a little hot dog to a string, and lay on our stomachs. Drop it down there, watch them come. We never ate any of them. We threw them back in. But, fun to catch.
See, I knew I liked you. Dadgummit, yes, sir. And funny because it was about a year or so ago. I went to deep country people house, man. Okay. And they had a 20, maybe a 30-gallon cooler, but there was like 80 gallons of crawfish in it. I don't know, like a magic trick, right? You see the clown car where the guys like 50 of them come? Yeah, it was like that. I was like, man. So anyway, brother, welcome, man. I'm so excited to share your story. Very similar, and it's kind of like, my story is similar, but yours is like to the 10th power, man. And we're not the only ones out there, struggling. It's the human condition, right? So let's start off with this. I want people to know where you came from and kind of who you are. So you went from craft distilling, right, to transformational coaching. Well, tell a story if you don't mind. What was that pivotal moment that made you realize you needed to completely change direction?
Well, I mean, it's not a flattering story, but I developed, I had a drinking problem, and so what was the pivotal moment? So pivotal moment, man, my wife smacked me on the shoulder because I was passed out in front of a Zoom meeting.
Oh,
yeah.
Whoa.
Meeting had ended, and she said, you can't be here like this when the kids get home, and told me, hey man, there's gonna be an Uber here in a second, and he's gonna take you to a hotel, and you got to go get yourself sorted out. And I called that night and organized myself, got myself checked into rehab. And I grew up, my whole professional career was in the alcohol space. I started in wine, moved to whiskey, and that was the whole thing. And I mean, in that moment, I was like, man, I don't know if I can do this anymore.
Well, What was the hardest part of making that dramatic? I mean, because I've been there, man. I don't, I've been 8 years recovering alcoholic, right? And so there's more to the story, right? So you have your family dynamic, your kid, and then 90 days, right? 90 days into the recovery, what happened?
Yeah, 98 days actually. I went to the doctor because my shoulder hurt, and they found a tumor. They found a tumor in it, and 10 days after they found the tumor, they got the biopsy results, and my surgeon said, "Hey, man, you have big, scary, dangerous, rare cancer." Like, that's the bingo card.
Yeah, I'm showing the picture, folks. If you're driving around on the radio, listening in, go to YouTube, Hounds of Business at YouTube, man. You can see this picture here. Phenomenal. I mean, it's unbelievable. So keep going.
Yeah, so the picture, yeah, so don't look at the picture if you're driving, number one. Number two, the picture there is, so my cancer is called chondrosarcoma. It's a bone cancer that develops in your cartilage, and it had essentially eaten my whole shoulder blade. Like I like to joke around. I deal with big things with humor a lot. And I asked my surgeon, and I said, "Hey man, once you pull this thing out, right, can you give me some of the bone? I want to turn it into a necklace, right? Like the mountain men used to wear, like a bear claw, like,
yeah, like the
I
shark
survived
tooth.
this thing." Yeah, and he said, "No, man, there's nothing left."
Oh, wow.
I said, "Dang." And it, like, in a moment was like, "Oh, that, okay. And and he said the other thing is, like, people don't get their shoulder blades removed, right? If it's a hip, he said, new hips are on the shelf at Amazon, but this one, if we're gonna put in like a prosthetic, it has to get custom made. And so I'll describe it for the people driving, but it looks a little bit like a tennis racket or like a lacrosse stick, the head of a lacrosse stick. It's got this webbing in it, and so the deal is your shoulder blade sits between these two muscles, right? And so this implant is sewn into the middle of those two things. And then I had to get my joint removed as well. So it's, there's a metal rod shoved halfway down the top of my arm. And yeah, it's pretty gnarly.
Wow,
pretty gnarly.
Man. That again, man, this is real. Like, you set off just to live life, work a job, take care of bills, blah, blah, blah. Like most of us do. But
Sure.
then life happens, right? Like, oh my God, it happens. And I love this. This is what the Hounds is made of, folks. Like, regular people, all passion, no clue, making things happen. So on that note, because I know a little bit, man, about you, I'm excited. Oh, and by the way, Troy Karnes, all right? The way it's spelled, Troy, Troyc, Karnes. So Troy Karnes with a K.com. All right. You can find all the resources. Guys got tons of stuff out there. We're going to talk about his pre-launch soon, but I want to make sure folks got that right away. So, like, you face cancer, addiction recovery, raising a child on the spectrum, man. How did these experiences shape your, quote, nurturing versus fixing philosophy? Man, that is huge. I wish I'd known that.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
You and me both, man. Well, here's the thing. I grew up, and in high school all the way through college, my mom worked for a landscaping company since I was like 1 year old. It was my first job, and I did every job there, but pretty blue collar. And I grew up where it's like, you got to fix everything, right? Everything is fixable. And not only that, I'm the guy to fix it. And not only that, like, I'm not going to ask for your help because I don't want to burden you.
That's the country way.
I don't want to feel weak. Like, Denver isn't the country, but that's kind of, how I grew up. And then you run into some problems, or at least I ran into some problems that do not have solutions. And if you asked me, 5 years ago, even, I would have told you impossible. Every problem has a solution, right? And then I found ones that don't, right? I found things that I'm going to live with for the rest of my life, no matter what I do. And so my solution to that was to get a little bit more proactive and nurture those things, or kind of, think of them like buckets that are always going to leak, and just keep filling them up so they never get empty, right?
Man, yeah. So if you don't mind, I know I'm pushing you on here, but hey, this is what you do, man. It comes out natural. You're all about helping people, brother. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Deep dive question here. So can you walk us through a specific moment, if there is one, a specific moment when you realized, that trying to fix everything wasn't the answer? Because I know how hard that is, man. Especially when you're ingrained with that, everybody around you's country macho. And so was there a specific moment that you realized that, hey, man, I ain't trying to fix it no more?
Yeah. So I'm in my treatment for my substance abuse, right? And the stats are not very good, right? Something like 2/3 of people aren't going to make it, or more, depending on the stats you look at, aren't going to make it a year without relapsing, right? And I asked my therapist, like, how do so many people mess this up? And she said, well, people don't make good decisions when they're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. And I said, well, that's terrifying. That is terrifying, because we're going to get those things all the time, right? Just because we're people, we're humans. Like, this is just the, play along, Mike, right? Like, did you eat today?
A little bit, because I heard my wife in
Okay.
my head.
Yeah, telling you to eat, exactly. And I'm gonna take a guess that you ate yesterday, and then I'm gonna take a guess that you're gonna eat tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that, right? So these are things that we're not just gonna get over. Number one. Number two, when she said that to me, I said, man, it feels like that takes a lot of willpower to be in a moment when maybe you're not at your best and you're considering, having a drink when you shouldn't, and you got to run through this checklist. Okay, am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I whatever? And then to make a good decision instead of a bad decision, man, that is a lot of willpower. And I'll tell you what, I did not end up in rehab because of my good willpower, right? And so I said, I got to think of a different way. Like, I understand this HALT framework, right? But I got to figure out a different way to approach it. And I said, well, if I can be proactive, and if I can eat before I'm hungry, if I can process my emotions instead of stuffing them and they explode, if I can make a point to call my friends so I'm not feeling lonely, and if I can prioritize sleep and exercise, then I'm going to give myself a shot at success. And that's the moment when it all flipped.
Boy, the courage that takes. Speaking of courage, man, look at all the great people in here, man. I don't want to miss them. Look, we got Lewis, Homer, Noni is here, OZK. Maybe we can get you on her show. Hey, I just called her out. We got Tammy J. Cohen. Her book's coming out, second edit, man. Text messages.
We're talking in 2 days.
Oh, man,
that's a networking call in 2 days. Yeah.
Hey, shameless plug to the Redneck Connector here, man. I know what I'm doing, man.
It's because of you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, pat on the back. Yay, that a boy. All right.
Yeah.
So, hey, real quick, man, we're going to go. I want to give a shout out to Mike King. Mike King Biz Radio, making this possible, man. That guy, I always joke, but I love it. He goes to the ball games, man. They put him on the Jumbotron, because he's earned it. So he's pushing up his community. He's expanding, even outside of Richmond. And I just want to say thank you for our partnership, man. Coming with the Hounds of Business, pushing up people on an international level together. Hey, thank you so much, Mike King. And listen, guys, shameless plug, but well earned. No strays out there. Look at what we accomplished together, man. Look what we do when we're out there pushing each other up and focusing on the ecosystem versus outcomes. Hey, follow me. Go to Hounds of Business, all right, on YouTube. I got the link everywhere. Group call, man. Fun, educational as well as entertaining. And also LinkedIn, right? Hounds of Business, Redneck One, Mike Ashterbrander. Or if you're like me and Troy, you can still send a carrier pigeon, right? We still take those. Might take 5 days with the weather. But hey, appreciate you. So let's dive into that, because you mentioned the HALT framework. And I know you didn't make it, but you have really found a way to really help people through this. And so if you don't mind, what resistance do you typically encounter when introducing this mindset to high performers? So folks in the mix when you're coaching them.
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing that I have to overcome with them is that they thought like I used to think, right? Like, listen, people who run businesses, people who are powerful and like doing things, like if you ask them what their job is every day, they say it's to solve problems. And so they think that every solution has a problem, right? Yeah. I was there. You were there.
Myself.
Lots of people do. And I don't blame them, right? Like we live in a society that drives us to solve problems, right? And so I have to just point out to them all the time, like, hey, every time, okay, you solve a problem, and then you solve another one, and then you solve another one. But I bet what happens is as soon as you solve that problem, another one pops up, right?
Yeah,
and another one pops up, and you're never going to get to the end of it. You're playing whack-a-mole with those problems. And some problems you can fix, right? You get a flat tire, you can fix that. That's easy, right? But when I started to think about the biggest issues in my life, they kind of fall into a couple categories, right? And this is when I figured out why the HALT Matrix is so powerful. And I call it a matrix because I put it on a graph. And it goes like this. Most of your problems are either going to be physical or emotional, right? Or they're going to be internal or external, or you could think personal or social, right? And so if you put those on a graph, you end up getting a HALT, right? Like if you are thinking about problems that are physical and internal, it's hard to think of something more physical and internal than being hungry, right? That is an internal physical feeling that we've all had.
I'm hangry.
And that's when you move to the other side, right? When you are emotional and internal, right? Those are your inside emotions. That's angry as a stand-in for that, but all of your emotions apply there. You drop down to emotional, but external or social, and now you're lonely. That's all your relationships. Okay. And then if you go over one more, physical and external, think about like your muscles, your energy, right? So HALT fits perfectly. And that's why most of your big issues fall in there. And then when you figure out that you're never going to get to the end of those problems, you just got to nurture them. You're going to get better results is the thing. It's not touchy-feely. You get better results that way because you make better decisions.
Bingo. And you make them from an inner place. See, I've been through this hard journey. I wish I had a guy like you, man. Seriously, like you failed more times than people tried, and that's why you do what you do. Nobody wants to go through this needless suffering and internal turmoil. Come on. Like you have a gift, you have a story, you have an impact to make in this world. But don't stay stuck. Go find people like Troy, right? I've had people like April Wyatt's here, right? Living with intention, breath work, man. Yeah, dude, all kind of great folks that, that's why we do these shows, not just to talk and get things out there or sell books, man. We are here to provide value, man. We know you've been there, done that, right? Through our ecosystem, right? I've been able to learn from you, watch you. This is what makes it special, man. So let me go because, I told you 30 minutes goes too fast.
Yeah.
So before we jump into the book, because I'm super excited about this. This is to me, more like a guide, like a manual, right? Like you can read it straight through, but man, I like to go through and go, okay, I'm struggling with this. Go find it in the book, right? So real world example. All right. Can you share a recent situation where the HALT prevented you from making another major mistake, right? Like, or maybe it's a story of a client or a friend.
Yeah, where the HALT framework worked out. Yeah, absolutely. So as I started sharing my story with people, what happens is you get other people who come in who are struggling and say, "Oh man, hey, can you help me out?" And I've had, more people than I can count off the top of my head in the last year or something call me because they got their own cancer diagnosis, right? Oh, yeah. And the very first thing that I do is I ask them how they're eating, right? And it's not just cancer. I mean, I have a couple of good friends who have called me because they are reconsidering their relationship with alcohol. And I tell them the first thing, I'm like, how are you eating? How are you eating? Because what goes on your plate ends up in your brain, right? And the ones who I get hopeful for tell me that they're paying attention to that. And the ones that I start to worry about say, they start to just go into, like garbage food, comfort food, whatever it is,
Cookie Monster right here, Troy. Woo, yeah. Yesterday, God.
Yeah. I mean, and it happens to me too, right? Like here's an example. And here's when I figured out that I really needed to change some things, right? So at the peak of my addiction, I was, I went to bed way after everybody else in my house because I had to stay up to decompress, have a cocktail or 4, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I stopped drinking. I get a cancer diagnosis, incredibly stressful, right? And normally I would have gone for cocktails, but that's now off the table, right? So what did I do instead? At the end of the day, I start decompressing with a scoop of ice cream or 4, right? And before I know it, I'm 20 pounds heavier, and like, I stood on the scale and I was like, this thing's broken, right? So here's what I did. I stepped off the scale and then I stepped on just a little softer. Like that was going to make a difference.
Yeah, moonwalk. Hey, anybody else relate? Look, April's like, yep, I'm feeling you. Yeah, dude, we all know. Keep going, brother.
Yeah. And guess what? The scale wasn't broken. My ability to deal with my stress was broken, right?
Yeah.
And that's when I started to really hone in on all of this and really buckle down. And yeah, I mean, I lost 50 pounds. I'm processing my emotions better. I'm a better husband, a better father, a better friend, and have more energy. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it is. But look, I'm going to say this because, there's other guys that grow up, right? Firemen, macho, country. Listen, I always say this, joking, but serious. What's the most manly thing to do, right? After a stressful day or whatnot, kick a stray cat on your way home and treat your family like garbage, or dive into all the stuff that's causing you to be not who you truly are, who you should be, can be. And that's what the calling card of this is, brother. And I appreciate you being so open about it, because we think we're struggling. We're a special kind of broken, or we're not good enough. And I'm telling you, man, other people just better hiding it than we are. I'm serious. Awareness, Troy, that's what would you agree with that? It all starts with awareness, and then just a decision, even a weak decision to make personal responsibility. Listen, it doesn't matter what happened and if I caused it, if I didn't. Hey, I could change it. I could start responding, right? This is freedom. Yeah, it's scary at first, but I don't know how many healthy alcoholics I wasn't, there, but we came out of that. And that's why we're here saying, hey, man, you can do this. Will it be easy? Heck no, it ain't gonna be easy. But nothing worthwhile is easy. Here's what's not easy: losing my family, right? Losing the opportunities and the impact, right? And I'm not trying to get preachy. This is why I love you up here, because we get it. And we're just here to, that's why you're writing this book, right? Not because you're some book writing guy. You just said, hey, how do I get this out to the masses? How do I get this into more hands who need it, man? Families can be restored. Professionals can do better, right? And that's why this is here. That's why you're my guy here. So your book, it's called No Silver Bullets, right? And you guys can go, hey, folks on the radio, listen, you could go to troykarnes.com/book, or you just click book on the website. It's dropping in May. That's the goal. So we could pre-order this thing. But I love everything you do challenges to traditional problem solving mindset. That's what this is. So what research, that you did, what surprised you the most when you researched and started writing this? You're like, oh, wow, I didn't expect that. What surprised me the most? Yeah, is the part on loneliness. So the book has the book has 4 parts, one for HALT, right? And inside of it, there's a story, there's a bunch of research, and then there's some systems or tactics that people could follow. Now, the research that blew me away was the research on loneliness. I didn't expect it. I expected powerful research from the dangers of not eating well or not taking care of your mental health or things like that. But the research on loneliness, that blew me away. That blew me away. Wow. What was it? What was it more like what was it that you could be in a room full of people still be lonely? Like, was there? I mean, certainly that exists, but the trends on loneliness are not good. So in 2023, the Surgeon General released a paper about declaring a loneliness epidemic, right? And I won't go into a ton of stats on this, but there are a few that are interesting. So in
So right now, fewer than half of Americans have 3 close friends. 3 close friends. Half of us do not have 3 close friends. Now, back in the 90s, that was 27%. 27% of people didn't have. So it's nearly doubled.
Wow.
Nearly doubled. Yeah. And the ramifications for that aren't just, I feel sad or I feel bummed out, right? The mortality rate increases dramatically. So if you feel lonely, like you don't have as many connections as you'd like to have, your mortality rate goes up 26%.
Wow.
That is subjective, like how you feel. If you're socially isolated, meaning the number of connections that you can count, this is objective, is low, your mortality rate goes up 29%.
Wow.
3% worse. And if you live alone, it's 32% higher mortality rate than the average person. So being lonely increases the chances you will die. I did not expect to learn that. It blew me away. And it made me realize, or I've come to the conclusion now, that it's the most important quadrant of the matrix is the relationship quadrant.
Okay, so see, now I can't. How do I get my hands? I won't tell nobody I got it early, Troy. Give it to me. Hey, we got Russ Hedge in the house. Talk about inspiring stories, right? Ah, gosh, that guy. Yeah,
Russ is great. Yeah,
dude.
I'm gonna be on his thing tomorrow.
Are you? Oh, wow. Good.
Yeah.
I'll have to clear
on the live experience. Yeah. Tomorrow morning.
What a guy, man. I'm talking about, you got to give him a shameless plug, man. Russ Hedge, his book, Befuddled. Right? I love the cover, right? And
it's a great cover.
Man, and this guy, he's the walking New Testament, man. Inspiring character, and he does keynote speaking, marketing. This is what I mean, man. We got so many amazing people. So we only got a few minutes, man, and I got to stop talking. But for our viewers, right? It's on the screen. For the listeners and the people that are here, they're struggling with their own challenges right now, man. What's one paradigm shift you want them to take away?
Okay, the paradigm shift is to stop fixing all of your problems, right? Like I don't think your life is broken. I don't think you need to fix your life. I think your life is worth nurturing. And when you flip that mindset and you start doing a little bit for yourself every day, you're going to get better results and make better decisions.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's one decision. Are you going to fail? Yeah, probably. Join the club, but you're failing forward. You're failing upwards. You're taking the bull by the. Let me be careful here. The bull by the horns. Yeah, I modified it. And it's scary, but it was that aha moment. I grew up 40-something years old, right? I finally hit manhood and leadership and. Hey, don't go at this alone. Check out troykarnes.com. You can find resources, books. A super nice guy, man. You already know. I don't have to say it. We don't push people to do stuff. We just want to be there, plant the seeds. Hey, read the book. Pass it on to your friends, man. If somebody's struggling, right? Amazon it to them, right? Whatever. All right, so last question, man. 1 minute. What's next for Troy? All right, we want to know. What's next? What's on the horizon for Troy Karnes?
What's on the, this is the horizon. So I just turned over this manuscript to my copy editor yesterday, and we're going to do the cover, and we're going to, they're going to get it all polished up and make sure I spelled everything right. And then we're going to print and send it out in the spring. And I'll be doing a handful of events talking about stuff that's in the book, just helping people, helping people to put this system and this process into place so they can make better decisions themselves. And that's the future.
Well, Troy, hey, I'm out of time, man. I hate.
Of course.
Karnes, Karnes, I got it right, .com. LinkedIn, Troy Karnes, and he's everywhere. So thank you so much for being you, for being open and putting your message out there for people who are struggling inside, man, and then in secret. So no more of that. All right. Thank you, brother. Appreciate having you on.
Mike, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, man.
Oh, my pleasure. And hey, Mike King. Was that?
Yes. I said yes. You got both mics.
Yeah. But Mike King, appreciate you, brother. So I'm going to roll this outro. Hey, next week we've got on Sandra Bolte. I hope I said that right, man. Y'all are going to love it. So we'll talk soon. Hey, y'all have a good day out there. Hey, Hounds of Business.
Thank y'all for stopping by. Be sure to follow, share, and like, and send me a message if you had fun today. Y'all come back now.